There's no place under the occupation that I hate more than Hebron. Because in Hebron you get really the occupation in its most brutal, cruel, insane, crazy expression. It is really the place of evil.
Since the settlers arrived in 1982, we have lived on opposite sides of the road. Once we could drive up and park in front of the house. Now only the settlers can. We always have to have a plan to avoid being shot at or having stones thrown at us.
There was no ice screen here, just the railings. The city put these up to protect us from the settlers. Our house is surrounded by wire screens. The settlers now throw smaller stones that get through, or destroy the screen with wire cutters. Stay out of this! Close the door. I'm not closing the door. Stay in the cage. I don't want to stay inside. Close the door. Get the camera out of here. Call the police. Turn the camera off. It's early in the morning. What do you want from us?
To me, Hebron is being a pioneer, like in the beginning of the State of Israel. There are different types of swamps that people have to deal with. Then there were swamps and malaria. Now there are security problems and people who question our rights to living here. And by living here, we're stating a fact, and that the fact is that Hebron is the heart of the Jewish country, and it's where it all began. And we just want to have natural Jewish life here.
Sharif is trying to come home. They'll kill him.
خيال الولد ده يطلع، الولد هيو تحت مش عارف يطلع منهم. وين اطيح؟ الولد شريف.
Soldier, my boy wants to come home, but they won't let him. Don't you see what he's doing? He's hitting the kid. The boy is below. I want to get the boy.
Today, in this situation in Eretz Israel, in Israel land, there are many questions. Why are we here? Or may we give anything to our enemies? And we are in the middle of a war, even if we are not saying it loudly. And I think that in Hebron, there are not questions. There are only answers. We're here because of our patriarchs, that the God promised them that the land belongs to us.
Hello.
You can say that this is the essence, the hardcore of the occupation,
because there are settlers living inside the middle, the Kasbah, the center of a Palestinian city, and you have the Palestinians there, and they are very extreme, and there is the army that's protecting them and protecting the Palestinians against the settlers. So you have all the elements for a Greek drama, you know. This is the essence of the occupation.
We are living in a liberal democracy with a free press and all of the other things that we take for granted in a democracy, and yet the reality in the occupied territories is very, very different. And surprisingly, in spite of the free press, in spite of the fact that you have hundreds of journalists covering the situation, it remains the case that the Israeli public really doesn't know what is taking place in the occupied territories. And I think they don't know because they choose not to know.
There was a war in 1948, a very long war and very cruel war, in which Israel gained 78% of the country of Palestine as it existed before. There was another war in 1967, in which Israel conquered the rest of Palestine. And the moment this war was finished and we saw these huge territories which we had conquered, there was a natural desire by some people to annex it to Israel. And after a few weeks and a few months passed by, and we suddenly saw there's no pressure at all on Israel to give back these territories, then slowly some people said, why not? Why shouldn't we get there and put our settlements there? The idea was to annex these territories. Wherever there is a settlement, the idea is to annex. The obstacle is that there is the Palestinian people living there. And then the question arises, how do you annex all these territories with 2.5 million or 3 million Arabs, Palestinians in them? And there are some people who say, just not take these 2.5 million Palestinians and push them out of Palestine, as we did to half the Palestinian people in 1948. So these are the settlers. These are the extreme settlers. And the most extreme are in Hebron.
The Israeli soldiers put up this iron net because the settlers were throwing stuff at us. They put it up to protect us. So now instead of chucking stones, they throw filthy water and other stuff that passes through the netting.
Hebron is probably the only city in the West Bank and Gaza, in the occupied Palestinian territory, to have settlements that are implanted at the heart of the city. And really the result of that is the slow death of the Palestinian population center for the benefit of the expansion of these settlements. You can see this as a trend since 2000, since the beginning of the recent Intifada, with the closures of all entry points into the old city. What we have since 2000 is closed areas where no Palestinian vehicle movement is allowed. Another area where Palestinians are not allowed to go through, and no presence of Palestinians is allowed. And then you have closed shops.
You can't pass freely. You can't go freely to your hospital, to your home. You can't go freely to another village, to another city. You can't go to your university.
This was a supermarket, and this was a photography studio. These shops used to be open. Folk earned their living here. And then 400 settlers came to live here, and they shut the whole town down.
Living here is really coming back to the Jewish roots. It's the first Jewish city. We know that Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rebecca and Jacob and Leah are buried here, and according to Jewish tradition, even Adam and Eve are buried here. So it's bringing up a Jewish family in the place of the Jewish roots, in the basis of the Jewish people.
In any other country in the world, they would be defined as fascists, if not worse. There are a bunch of 500 or so people whose aim in life is to drive out 160,000 Palestinians whom they consider as strangers. These people who have come 30 or 40 or 50 years ago from Europe consider the inhabitants of Hebron, who have been there for 5,000 years, as strangers.
I believe it's important for everyone to come and see what's going on here and not just have their impression from the news, because the news is very slanted. And when people come, they show that this is a place where people can walk around and visit and feel normal in, and it's not what they see on the news, where they think it's just a military zone. I think, a lot of soldiers come here. In the beginning, they think, this is like an army base. And then they realize that this is not an army base. This is a place where Jewish people live.
I remember in the year 2000, 2001, and 2002 and 3, the whole 30,000 inhabitants of the old city of Hebron were under curfew, 200 days in the year. That lasted for 2 to 3 years. This caused Palestinians to leave, shift from the old city outside.
I served in Hebron in 2 different periods of times. I came first as a soldier in the end of 2001 till middle of 2002. Then I came back as a commander in March 2003 till like around December. And the first 2-3 weeks that we came to Hebron, when we went down to the city, we were all shocked. You're sent to wheeled shops and doors for Palestinians' houses. You see sterilized streets where Palestinians are forbidden to walk and only Jews are allowed to walk there. You have to force curfew for all the time, invade houses on a daily basis. You go and walk on the streets and you find yourself in front of graffitis that probably in Germany sounds, it sounds familiar, better than to us. Such as Arab to the gas chambers, gas the Arabs, Arabs out with the Stars of David in Hebrew in the middle. And there was a group of my platoon in the beginning who thought to refuse to serve in Hebron. We were shocked. We didn't believe what's going on, You come to a place that we have 2 sets of law by definition, that the orders are that you have to protect the settlers, and if you see them attacking Palestinians, you're not allowed to arrest them.
Of course, there are many military people who are being sent there and come back from there full of hatred against the settlers. Because the settlers are treating these military people as servants. They treat the military as a kind of personal security detachment whose job was to obey and serve the settlers. But the Israeli army has been infiltrated for many years now by the settlers. And in Hebron, this is very obvious. The army is a part of the settlement. The settlement is closely connected with the army.
The security presence in Hebron is heavy. Unfortunately, there are people that are trying to kill us. Many of the terrorists that wander around trying to blow themselves up anywhere from Beersheba up to Haifa have come out of Hebron. And the presence, the military presence is here is to protect us, but it's also to try to weed out these terrorists and see to it that they don't get to Tel Aviv and blow themselves up.
Although legally they are there to protect everyone, to impose the law on everyone, the actual soldier stationed there understands his job as protecting the settlers and stopping Palestinian terror.
Okay, so we will start. Probably will be guided by David Wilder to the left and Ophel. David is the spokesman for foreign press of the settlement of Hebron, and Ophel is documenting our work. I just offered them to speak with you guys to give their point of view, and they refuse because they say they don't cooperate with traitors during a wartime like today, traitors like me. So you will get only one perspective today, and I'm sorry for that.
I don't call him military. Yehuda Shaul, who leads the group, is in any other normal country, they would put him on trial for treason and hang him. But unfortunately, Israel hasn't reached that level yet of justice. People express their opinions. Some people are put in jail when they express their opinions because it's called incitement and whatever. He does what he does. That's considered to be legitimate. However, I don't relate to them too much importance. There are many Jewish communities, and not only Jewish communities, which understand the importance of Hebron to the Jewish people, the significance of Hebron, the significance of Jews living here, and people are able to express that support in different ways. Some people come to visit, some people send letters, some people wish to donate some of their money, and I think that proves without any doubt that people understand the importance of a Jewish community here in Hebron. When we came to Hebron in 1967, we didn't occupy a foreign city, we came back home. We came back to the first Jewish city in the land of Israel.
I want you to look at the faces of those Yidden, of those Jews who were killed. Sanctify God's oneness. Shmuel Levi Rosenholz, the master of the yeshiva.
The narrative of the settlers and their claim starts from, we are a continuation to the Jewish community who lived there, was deported from there by the massacre. And that's not the truth. Of course, there are some people who come from families who lived there that agree with the settlements. But there are a lot of people who come from the Jewish community of Hebron who are against, fundamentally against the settlement of Hebron, fundamentally against the idea that 650 people can, have all their rights in the back of 150,000 people. Usually in Jewish holidays or weekends, a lot of people come, a lot of settlers from Kiryat Arba, a lot of people, visitors from Jerusalem, from outside. And one of the biggest fears of the IDF was that some of a Palestinian sniper will sit down here, one of the houses in Abu Snena, and will just slot everyone, all the prayers who will walk here on the streets. So how you deal with it? For sure, weekends or holidays, you post curfew on the Palestinians. Friday morning, you divide all the Palestinian neighborhoods around the settlement. You go, you search all the houses, you finish one round, take a rest in one of the houses, you lock the family in one room, you put observers on, you go to sleep. After 3 hours, you wake up, it's time for the second round. And again, that's another aspect of what it was to live here.
Is anything wrong here?
When they come to check the house, they ask me to collect all of the family, put them in the kitchen or in one room. They take off all of the clothes, the bags, the beds, all of that, and it's happened many times. They come to the house, they said, all of the family outside, but I said, it's raining outside. He said, I don't care. I remember one night, we stay from 1 o'clock after midnight until 4 o'clock and it was raining over our head. And they said they want to check the house, and they know nothing of the house.
1968, and after the Six-Day War, and the great military victory that God gave to us, the Israeli government already back then wasn't sure of what are we going to do with the areas we've liberated in 67. Let Jews stay, let Jews move there, don't let Jews move there. And at that time, Rav Moshe Levinger and his Rebbetzin Miriam Levinger get together and they advertise in the Israeli newspapers, come spend Pesach downtown Hebron, Park Hotel, and no sauna, and no Olympic-sized swimming pool, and no great musical entertainers, Chalamite, but yet a one-star hotel, windows provided if you pay extra money, 30 families registered for the Passover service.
They were there in this hotel. Then the government decided to take them out of there and to put them into the military government building, which was an old British police fortress. And then they multiplied, and the military government could not function anymore. They just turned the military government building into a private settlement. So the government decided, let them take out of Hebron, let's put them into a new settlement called Kiryat Arba.
In 1970, Golda Meir came along, says, I got the solution, and that solution is called Kiryat Arba. And she built this beautiful, beautiful suburb with low-interest mortgages, cheap housing, Olympic-sized swimming pool, really, sauna, jacuzzi, tennis courts.
This became a big fascist-dominated settlement, the center of all fascist elements in Israel. And then they started from Kiryat Arba to infiltrate again back into Hebron. So slowly, little step after little step after little step after little step, they occupied this part of Hebron, where, as you know, even in this part, the settlers are a small minority, and they terrorize the Arab majority into this quarter of Hebron.
This was the busiest street in Hebron. Everybody came here. The farmers, people from the neighboring towns, tourists. Now nobody comes here. They have shut everything. Since the Intifada, they closed our entrance. We used to go in and out when the settlers could not see us. Then they welded the door shut. So now we get in from the back, by climbing over the neighbor's roof, upstairs, and over walls. All this trouble to keep the settlers out of a house. There are the settlers, that's where they live. And also in all the other colonies around us. Look there. We're surrounded by settlers and soldiers.
I have no doubt that if today another 200,000 Jews moved into Judea and Samaria, a lot of the Arabs who were here would pick up and leave. We don't have to throw them out. I don't know that I don't know that today I favor that. I'm not looking for forced expulsions of everybody, but I have a feeling that if they see masses of people coming over, not to take their homes away from them, just to settle in the land here, a lot of them will just leave.
You know, any normal human being have a specific set that once about beyond this point I cannot take it anymore. My children cannot take it anymore, so I'm gonna have to leave.
Basically, it is a fight about land. As I wrote it 2 weeks ago, a fight about real estate. And the territory is the main core. I am not among those who think that this dispute in the Middle East is a religious one. It is a nationalistic one, and the main dispute is about land. Look even at the transfer. There was a real transfer in Hebron. Nobody talks about it. There are something about 15, 20, 25,000 people who had to leave their homes. It is just because those crazy people tyrannized their neighbors until they had to leave.